Hey everybody, welcome back. It's That's Cool Drink. We're on episode number 9, and I got to tell you again, I'm so excited to be doing this, guys. This is such a good time. I've had some great interviews. If you haven't checked them out, go and check out some of those past interviews. They are fantastic. The Darce Laws interview, amazing. Zach DeCague, amazing. Ben Wood is probably the sleeper of all of these. So check it out. And again, throw me a subscribe, like these videos when you like them, so I know I'm doing something right. Throw me any information that you kind of want, or any stuff that you want to see in the process. And guys, I am super duper excited because I've got one of my heroes on tonight. The guy that for years and years and years had the fastest streetcar in Colorado, a dude that I've kind of been able to rub shoulders with along some of these endurance drag racing kind of things, and he just lives kind of down the street from me. So, this one's really really good for me. And you guys have got Joe Barry tonight, with the creamsicle, and that's SICKLE. He let me know that was how it's spelled. So, again, guys, I'm super duper excited to have Joe on. And without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Joe Barry.
That's quite an introduction. I don't
You
know
like that?
I don't think I can keep up with that.
Well, it's 100% true, man. I mean, it was before I went on Drag Week in 2014, I had known of you. I knew of you. I've seen the car at a bunch of Super Chevy events and things like that. But guys like you in my world, like a bracket race kind of guy with a 13-second car or an 11-second car or whatever I had at the time, I think your car was well in the 7s at the time. And you were larger than life, and you had this sweet car, and it was a street car, and it was super duper cool to finally get to meet you and realize that you're just a regular dude and you're a nice guy, and you just happen to have one of the baddest street cars in the entire country, and for sure one of the baddest street cars in Colorado.
I don't even know what to say, Adam. You're embarrassing me.
Oh, man. Well, a little bit of housekeeping real quick. I didn't mention this beforehand. On your screen there on the right side, there's a box that says comments.
Uh-oh.
You can see all the comments from Facebook and from YouTube. If it's on Facebook and they haven't signed up for the StreamYard Facebook thing, I only get Facebook user. So I don't know who that is, but someone's saying, "What's up?" And Ed Hohenberg, who's been on every single one of these, and he's been on a bunch of drag weeks, says that you're an OG, man. So, and you totally are. You totally are. But I want to get part of the reason with this podcast, or that I did this podcast, is like we were talking kind of beforehand, behind the scenes, and it's just that you're competing in these things, and you don't really even get a chance to even watch racing, or B, even talk to your buddy. Like you were saying, your buddy that lives right down the street could be pitted 3 cars down from you, and you may not even say hi to them the entire week. So this kind of gives us an idea of the person behind the 50-sick car, and it's going to be a really really good time. And again, I'm super duper excited to have you on.
Thank you very much.
Heck yeah. So let's do it. Going back, what started you in hot rodding?
That's a good question. We used to, I can go all the way back to before I even had a license, we were into BMX bicycles. So we rode our bicycles everywhere. And back then, however many years ago that was, we actually had an 8th mile track here. And we would ride our bicycles out to the 8th mile track. Okay. And we met a guy that was actually a neighbor to where my mom lived. And he would give us a ride back at the end of the day because we didn't want to have to ride our bikes all the way back. And he had an English Ford. I think it had a 4-cylinder in it. 13, 14-second car probably. I don't know what that equivalent, but it was fast for what it was. and it was just cool. This guy just was nice to us. And obviously, as we got older, I mean, we got into cars. A lot of that had a lot to do with it. And it ended up where he was my neighbor all through building the car I have now. And he built, better cars as it went along. Eventually, big block cars, big block Chevys, tube chassis cars, and stuff like that. But that was probably our initial part of going to see race cars, I guess. I mean, that was kind of our first, just because we wanted to ride our bikes out to watch the drag races.
Nice.
So
So why specifically the 56 Chevy?
Well, the only reason is my dad used to go and buy Tri-5s in California. His brother worked for LAPD. So he would go and spot cars all day long. And then he would go and buy them. And my dad would go out there and flat tow them back to Colorado, of all things.
Right.
And the car, he would get them $50 to $100. That was pretty much what they sold for. And he would get them back here and he would resell them. And they would usually bring $1,200, $1,500, which was great.
Yeah, you make $1,000 in a weekend worth of work.
And my dad never cared for the car stuff at all. It's always a big waste of money. But he bought the 56, paid $50 for it. And no one wanted it. He had it for sale for $800. And not one person wanted it. That's the ugliest car I ever seen. So it sat there. Finally, he lived in a real nice neighborhood. He finally had to put it in the garage because the neighbors were complaining that he had this piece of crap out in the driveway. And so it sat there until I was old enough to have interest in it. And then it kind of I ended up with it based on it being something he couldn't get rid of, I guess. I can't say that I don't know, circumstances were another way if I would have picked a Tri-5 or a car like that. But that's the main reason I have the 56. It was, and now when you look back, it's a super rare car. It's a 210 hardtop, which there was 18,000 of those made out of, 500,000 or 600,000 56 Chevys.
Yeah, it's a 210 hardtop sports coupe, right?
It's a sports coupe, and and of course we cut it up, so it ain't worth anything now. But it's a pretty rare car.
Yeah, you're right. That's not worth much. You should maybe that $800. I think we can maybe work that out.
I'm sure.
But how did it look? Pretty much like that?
No. It's yeah, it was a two-tone blue and had a green and yellow fender on it because they had wrecked it down in Tijuana when they were getting the upholstery done. I know when we were stripping the car, the amount of pesos in the door panels and stuff of the car, because I think probably they broke the windows, every window in the car multiple times over the years. So we were cleaning glass out, and the amount of pesos that were in it were ridiculous.
Did you save any of the pesos?
I didn't. I mean, I was a young kid, didn't think of, of that kind of stuff, but I wish I had. I mean, at least the couple even. But no, I did not. But
Steve says that's a big safe behind you where you must keep all your racing secrets. And all of you that don't know, Joe does safes and locksmithing and safe cracking and all sorts of crazy stuff as well. So, yes, he's got a big old. I think to the wall to his right there is a big old warehouse full of safes.
Correct. And if I had known earlier, my lights are all out and I can't get my son to replace them. So I would have been flipped around so you'd have had something decent to look at. But
come on, Joey, what's he doing?
No, who knows? He probably uses the excuse he has homework to do.
Right. I mean, come on. Look, there he is.
There he is. that was when he was manageable.
Right.
Yeah, I could just pick him up and do whatever. Now, I'm just stuck with him.
Yeah, and he just had a 21st birthday, and you guys, for his 21st birthday, went to Vegas and went to LS Fest.
We did. We did. We went out and he got to gamble, or I don't know if you call it gamble. He got to lose some money
Got to lose money. Yep.
and that kind of thing. But it was, yeah, it was fun to have him out there. I mean, because normally he would always have to go to the room. He wasn't able to be around us. So it was fun. I think hopefully he had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, backward and then fast forward a little bit. Bring us to where the car was in this iteration.
The car, when I got the car, and it was pretty stock. Well, it was really stock. And so I wanted big tires on it. I wanted a pro street car. So I pulled the body off of the chassis in my dad's garage, probably while he was gone. And of course, rolled it out. And so when he came home, it was just the body in there. And I almost probably got kicked out of the house because of that. But we just built, it was a 2x3 back half car at the time when it was in that configuration. Um, Nothing special, just back half, big tires, had a small block in it. That was, well, 1990, because right around there, me and Michelle did the first Super Chevy, and it was in 90s, March of 1990, and had a little 331 in it,
Cool.
run 1050s. And it was a fun car. I mean, it wasn't, you know, back then, nothing was, yeah, these big cams and everything. So you were
Right.
scared to drive them for any distance or anything like that. So if you drove it 2 miles, oh man, I got a street car.
Right. Right.
It's nothing like today, but it was a fun car. I mean, I mean, I always called it the circus car because of the paint. Um, it was something that it had, I don't know, 10 or 12 different colors of candy. And I think the paint back then was about $1,800. Now it'd probably be 12 to 15,000
Right.
just for paint because of all the different candies and that kind of thing.
And then the plate is maybe the best, and it's spot you.
Yeah. No, and when we were younger, everyone, the plates, I always remember the plates on people's hot rods and things like that. And you don't see it as much, or I don't pay attention as much, one or the other. But you always, plates were always cool. You always remembered a car because of the plate, or vice versa. Now everyone names their cars, but back then it was more like the plate you put with the car.
Yep. Yep.
If that makes any sense.
No, for sure. And I'll tell you, like announcing, I see the back of cars constantly. I never really get to see the front of cars, so I'm always looking at the back. And of course, there's a license plate on the back because everything we do is street car stuff. So I pay attention to the license plates a lot on cars. And that one, when I was doing all my stocking for this, that was one that really stuck out. The spot you.
Yeah, and that in the back, on the back, it's funny. It has Super Shops there on the left, which for the
Yeah,
people
that
in
dates
our,
you.
yeah, we had Super Shops that would help us out. I had a friend that worked there, and then on the right it said Bottle Baby, because when we first got the car done, we ran nitrous, and everyone was so against nitrous back then. It was
Hmm.
like they just had a fit about it. So everyone would make fun, and so I put it right on the car. Um,
Yeah.
we had that on there, and then there was actually a Baby Huey painted at some point on the car. An older version, obviously, with smoking a cigar or something. But that was what was unique about that car. It was a nitrous car back then.
Yeah. Until it was a
Oh
blower car.
well, that was thanks to Lanier. Lanier,
Oh, yeah, Henry Lanier, rest in
yes,
peace.
we were. I don't remember what was the reason, if we were waiting on the engine or whatever. So Lanier says, "Hey, I got this blower motor. Put that in there and drive it around." So that's what we did. Because on Friday night, Saturday night, everyone hung out at Lanier's.
Yeah.
That was pretty common down here, and we all spent, the weekends down there. And that's what Lanier did. He said, "Here, put this motor in there, and go enjoy the car a little bit. So that
And if you
was,
guys don't know, Lanier Henry had a speed shop. It was in Colorado Springs, right?
yes, sir.
And he had a '55 Chevy that was a blower stick car, and I think it was a Lenko actually.
That was a Lenko
It
car.
was a
Yeah.
Lenko car, and yeah, he was a mainstay in fast at the time race cars, and he had a speed shop, and yeah, dude, Lanier's got some. Lanier took a bunch of that stuff to the grave, I'm sure, but if you could just take 45 minutes and talk to that guy, you would just at the time you would absorb so much. And I spent a bunch of time in his shop. He had a bunch of 348 and 409 stuff back in
Yeah.
the day. And yeah, I spent, I don't even know, an hour and a half or something there, and just kind of talking and hanging out. And on my way out, he had a sawed off shotgun under the counter of the place, and it just kind of caught my eye, and I caught it out of the corner of my eye, and he said, "Yep, that's my Brinks security system."
That would be Linear. Everything was a time capsule in there.
Oh yeah,
I mean, you'd walk in or go into the back where the machine shop was, and it was like you walked back 30, 40 years in time. Um, but yeah, I mean, and you don't have those shops. I mean, we don't have really any speed shops down here to speak of.
right. And back in the day, we used to have Maximum up here in Lakewood. We still have On Track.
Yep.
It's still here and kind of and kicking. And man, I hope that they can stay afloat after Bandamere leaves,
Yeah, that's
unfortunately. But
gonna actually, I think that'll have an effect on a lot of different things, sadly. As you know, I don't think anyone realizes, none of us, what impact it'll have
yeah,
on our. It's a hobby for us, but it's how these folks make a living.
the ripple effects are amazing, and you think about it's the drag strip, it's all the people that support the drag strip, it's that go kart track, it's photographers for all that stuff. I mean, Bandamere has a full time staff there, and they're there currently, so they work 5 to 7 days a week, full time over there. So it's going to affect a lot of people, and the ripple effect is going to be very, very, and I'm not looking forward to it going away, but I am going to enjoy every freaking second I am there this year.
No, I agree with you.
And part of that, like I got this picture, and I was going to show it kind of at the end, but I showed it to you in the beginning. But that's you and Sporty
Yes.
with the 56, and you won the fattest tire or
Yeah.
something like that,
Yeah,
and
it
it
was
was
the
spelled
fattest
wrong.
tire.
You said on the trophy.
Yeah, it's spelled wrong. They missed the T in it. But yeah, that was like, of all awards, I thought, how am I winning fattest tire? I thought, what a goofy award. But it's good. I mean, that had to be 90 something, 89, I guess, somewhere in there.
I really, really like the pink hat.
Well,
And I
you know,
really like Sporty's skinny jeans before skinny jeans were cool.
well, and
Like,
see, that's the problem with that particular era right around there, late 80s, 90s, is you had all those pastels. So
right,
you had the pinks and the turquoise.
right.
And you can't see the car, but it had a pink steering wheel. And
Okay.
then that isn't the worst part. It had a pink chassis.
No kidding.
Everything was pink, and it was actually Desert Rose is what it was called, and it was like a 56, 57 T-Bird is what the color was off of.
Okay. All right.
And everyone gave me a hard time about it, and more so as we got older, or because those colors, as quick as they came about, that stuff went away. And
Right.
so now, when you see it now, it's like, oh my God, what were we thinking? The people had the pink jackets and the turquoise jackets. It just, I don't know what it was, but yeah.
Well, and it was the time of hair bands and stuff too. So kind of that was the thing, like hair rock, and the tight jeans and the cowboy boots, and guy that was kind of the original guys wearing makeup. And like, I mean, you know there was a club here in the Lakewood area called Bangles, and that was what people wore. I mean, you wore like a pink like sequin jacket, and you were as heterosexual as the next guy, but that was for some reason that kind of 90, 91, 92 kind of era, that was the jam. And hey, dude, I mean, when in Rome.
No, no, it's funny. I mean, thankfully that part of the cars just went away. That little bump in the road, I guess you could say.
I disagree. I think you need to bring this shit back.
Well, I we've talked about doing something with if we could get it laid out in a wrap and put it on Joey's car. I
That would be
don't think I
super,
can change my
super
car,
cool.
but to do it with Joey's and do like a wrap, if I could get a wrap done, and I think you can based
I'm
on
sure you
today's
can.
technology, but that I think it would be cool because I still like the graphics on cars. That is probably my favorite era of car is when we had all the graphics. I mean, the crazy paint jobs.
Oh yeah.
Um, and you don't see it that much at all anymore. But that's still, if I see a car with graphics, I gravitate to that.
Oh yeah, I mean, you kind of have to. And like I've when I was doing my kind of background stalking of you, I saw a lot of lowrider stuff, and a lot of that kind of brings out that era a little bit still because they use a lot of the candies and a lot of the, tons and tons of that sort of stuff. And where it wasn't where you use pink, they now use chrome. So they would like chrome their chassis, but those cars have a lot of that kind of early '80s influence in a lot of what they do.
Well, see, maybe I was stuck in a low rider or stuck in a hot rodder as a low rider because everything on that car, which I don't think we have pictures really ever posted, but everything's chromed. We chromed the fender wells, the inner fender wells, A arms. I mean, you name it. I would sit and with a Dremel tool, removing all the flashing marks, like on cross shafts of the A arms, every mark. So when it was chrome plated, it was smooth. And I can't even tell you how many hours I spent chrome plating all this stuff. And I don't have any pictures of it, but that was the thing. I had all this. I thought I was a show car, I guess.
Well, yeah, but that was kind of the move back in the day. It was sort of show car that you could race kind of deal, and that was just part of the era. It really was.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. I just I forget some of the times what all we did when the car was looked like that. Actually,
Right. Brad Stapp says that Scott Kleppinger has a great plate, and he totally does. It's your 50 is slow, and that's no shit because he totally has the UR 50 SLO on his stuff, and yeah, we like Kleppinger a lot around here. And Vince Rui says that hair farmers rock. So fast forward. I mean, obviously, you're kind of enjoying this pro street car, and you're having fun with this thing. Um, what gets you into? We need to bring it to the next level, and then what gets you into? We need to, you know, actually drive this thing, and where does kind of hot rod drag week come into the picture for you?
well, the car in that configuration, the 10-second car, even back then in the 90s, was too slow to compete at that time. Super Chevy used to have a quick eight fast street car. They called them fast street cars, which I don't. They weren't street cars like we know today.
Yeah, they have doors, and
I mean, every car was 8-second car, and I show up with a 10-second car. I mean, with big tires, not to mention, it's pretty embarrassing, So we ended up ripping the car apart, and I took it to Jerry Bickle,
okay,
and at that time we were following a lot with NMCA and NSCA at that time, which it obviously went away. And I said, I want a pro street car. I want a competitive pro street car. And that's what we did. They built me a legitimate, I mean, now I call it, I mean, all it is a pro mod with a steel body in reality, aside from a carbon body.
Right.
But it's the same idea. I mean, everyone we're stuck on the streetcar thing, and I don't know, it's good for our egos or whatever, but they're all out race cars that we've figured a way to navigate the streets.
Right. Right.
And so Jerry Bickle and them, they built me a badass race car at the time. And at that time, we had nitrous engines. So we went to the West Coast, found the guy that built the baddest nitrous engines, and we got engines from there. They were 632 inch, and we raced NMCA and PSCA, and the car, we dominated the PSCA for 3 years until they figured a way to get me kicked out. And but the
You got
car,
kicked out of some place? Come on,
well,
Joe.
they made it. They called NHRA enough on me to make it where I wasn't legal. At the time, we were 3,600 pounds, and there was nothing. There was not a chassis tag for anything over 3,200 pounds.
Okay.
So, I mean, the car was running 730s then, and I'd get letters from NHRA telling me to slow down, that someone had sent in me making the pass, and I just threw it out. And we kept on doing that. And eventually it came down to, they went to PSCA, the promoter, and they pretty much did away with the class. So, but at that time, I mean, it was called Heavy Street. We had the fastest heavy street car in the country.
And I
East
think
Coast.
that it was Premier Streetcar Association back then, or was it Pacific?
Pacific. It was Pacific Streetcar. Yeah, I don't remember what it was. Before we started racing, it had a different name, and then it became the Pacific Streetcar. So we raced that for 3 years, and the car was dominant. The car was quick. I mean, because it was basically a purpose-built pro street car that was heavy.
Right.
So we went in there, and we're racing cars that were more of a regular car, back half cars or whatever, and they couldn't compete at the time.
Well, yeah, I mean 730s, and the rest of those guys are running 850s. I mean,
well, in the fact we had one race. I had a screw blown car that we had the fastest pass for heavy street, and I think he went somewhere in the 40s, 740s, and we went to 30, and that was the fastest we ever had in that class, with a side-by-side race. I mean, and it was crazy. Some of the cars that would come out, people built cars just to try to beat me at the time. And, we were enjoying it, not realizing what we were doing. We were just out having fun and trying to learn about the car. Cause I went from a 10-second car into a 7-second car. I didn't have any growth in that. And
right.
it was quite, I mean, just the driving aspect of it. I think the first pass I made, it was a motor pass, and went like 805. And I came back and I thought,
Crap.
I'm not cut out for this. I thought, I'm done. That scared the hell out of me. And, we weren't even spraying it yet. So I went to like 3 or 4 races just going 8-0 because the car scared the hell out of me.
Well, I
And
mean, as it should. I mean, from 1020 to 80 is a huge jump.
it was nuts. And I'm thinking, I don't think I can do this. Well, then the competitive side of you takes over, because then we had some cars going 820 and stuff. And I'm thinking, well, if I cut a bad light, they're going to beat me. So then we started, adding a little nitrous here and there. And eventually, I mean, we were adding 2 kits, 900 horsepower in nitrous. And the car was crazy fast. I mean, for what it was at the time, it was fast.
Hell yeah.
So it was fun. I mean, we'd go do NMCA stuff, and I got my butt kicked there quite a bit, because they purpose-built cars to fit Nostalgia Pro Street. And so they would build them, find out what combination they could be the lightest, and race that way. And that was the smart way to do it. We didn't realize, so we were showing up still having to weigh like 35, 50, and we would be a couple tenths off of being competitive. and it sucked. It really sucked. I mean, because to travel to the East Coast and get beat was way worse than traveling, 12 hours and winning on the West Coast.
Right. Right.
We did that for a while, and we learned a lot. I mean, learned a lot from how things are done at that type of events. The class racing is you look at it in a different way than when you compete in it. I mean, that everyone is working on finding the gray area or how to get away with anything that gives you an advantage. So it was different for me, and it took me getting beat up on a bunch, and finally manufacturer company, oh, well, you need this stuff. This is what everyone else. Well, that's not legal. Oh, well, it is legal because we have, we're a sponsor of the race or
Yeah, we
whatever.
got our hands in the pockets of the freaking money
Well,
bags.
no wonder I'm getting my butt kicked, and the biggest thing I remember was the jets, because we had to run a 32 jet. And at the end of the track, you would stop and they would pull your jet for you.
They'd pin them.
You pin it, and then they mark it so you can't change it. And I'm thinking, well, and when I was the new guy, they were checking every jet. I'd be down there and they were ready to call us back. And I'm thinking, why are you guys picking on me? And they'd check everything and then they'd seal it. Well, then come to find out, I had a manufacturer approach us. They ovaled the hole. So the pin won't go through it, but the hole's, 60 thousandths wide.
Oh, come on.
Well, that's an exaggeration, but it's wider. So the pin won't
right. I mean, I get it. Right.
And if you put a 42 jet in there, you're going to fly over the guy with the 32 jet, so
I mean, like that.
Yeah. And it was valuable, but it really sucked to learn, because I thought we were just getting beat because we didn't have power. Well, we were getting beat because people were doing, the manufacturers helped them do it. So,
Right.
and I'm sure there was more than just that. That was just probably one of the many things that was happening, but it was a valuable lesson we learned. We got our butt kicked every race. There was not a race. If we got past first round, it was luck.
Right.
And it sucked because we were so used to winning on the West Coast, but it was a valuable lesson.
About what year are we in here?
We did that from 2001 through about 2006 or 7, is when they cracked down on the chassis on the heavyweight cars, because they didn't have anything and we were just running our cars. There was no 25.3. And I don't even know when 25.2 came about, but when my car was built, there was a 25.1 car. So we raced it as long as we could get away with it. And then it was just we got enough, I don't know, popularity is the right word, but they knew the car well enough.
Recognition.
Yeah, I couldn't get away with stuff. I couldn't just show up and pretend, like I didn't know better. So we ended up parking the car somewhere around 2006, 2007, when they did away with the class, or did away with what they did is, like, PSCA made it an index class. So 760, because basically you could go 750 at that weight, but you couldn't go faster. So they made it 760 class. Well, I'm not good at bracket racing. I can tell you that right now.
Right.
And the whole index thing, I wasn't. So we parked the car. It just sat. I mean, it sat for probably 3 years. And then I picked up a hot rod magazine and I seen these guys doing drag week. And I thought, this looks pretty cool.
Hey.
I could do that, And so I talked to the gentleman, that Chuck Samuel, that did the engines. He owned a company, and I think we kind of run across during NMCA. He owned a company called Fast Times Motorworks.
Okay.
And they did all the fast cars. I mean, he was the guy. And so I contacted Chuck, and actually, let me go back a step. I contacted Chuck about doing NMCA. I said, let's do that. So we talked a little bit, and he says, I won't do it for you. And I said, well, why not? He said, because you're too heavy. You need to take advantage of the rules. He goes, that's how you win. And that's when I probably looked back at the previous years getting my butt kicked, thinking, well, he's right, because those cars still had 500 pounds on me and still were only beating me by a couple tenths. But they're still beating you. It don't matter if it's 100, they're beating you. So he said, you can either rebuild the car and I'll do it, or I'm not interested. And I thought, well, I ain't rebuilding the car. I can't imagine going back to a stock front stub with the
Well,
back.
yeah, after you just did this to Jerry Bickle.
Exactly. So so I think I pondered on it probably for a year or two. And then this magazine came up and I thought, oh man, I need to do this. So I called Chuck again. I said, hey, you want to do this? No, I'm not interested. And I became friends with a guy named Joe O, which tunes the radio cars,
Hyperactive, man.
And we became friends on Yellow Bullet, of all places. That was a big, drag racing thing for a long time. And we became friends. And he said, well, he goes, let me talk to Chuck. And at that time, he was actually the tuner on Chuck's Pro 5.0 cars.
Okay.
Because Chuck had won, I think, 5 Pro 5.0 championships. And so he said, let me talk to Chuck. And then he goes, Chuck's going to call you. And Chuck called me. He goes, I think I can do this. He goes, we've done some offshore race boats. He goes, this is perfect. They're endurance, we're going to do endurance racing, and those guys are the hardest apparently on their engines are these offshore race boats. So he went ahead and he put an engine combination together, and that was 2010. And that is the same combination, obviously, that we run today. Nothing is different. I mean,
wow.
And I get down quite a bit because I see all these cars going faster or equal as fast, but I can't be upset because we got a combination that's 13, 14 years old technology that can still run pretty good.
No, runs, pretty good.
So we got into doing that, and he built the engine, and but the car was still illegal because of this new rule. So I took the car down to Gregor, which he's been a longtime friend of mine. We raced PSCA together. He had a 10.5 car.
Okay.
Hang on, I'm trying to.
Hi, Joey.
Sorry, guys. We have a. Oh, you guys can see me still, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then we can just leave it there.
No, you're styling. Hey, Joey. Joey cut his hair, which I'm super, super disappointed about.
Me too.
So but the car was illegal. So I took it down to Gregor, and we ended up putting 22 bars in the car, cut out and replaced them to make it legal for 25.3. And that's what it took to make the car legal. So we changed it all over, and then we went to Drag Week in 2010 with the car. And it was that's kind of was the beginning of doing that. We learned a lot from going to that event. I mean, we learned what not to do and what works and what doesn't work. And that was kind of the beginning of the whole endurance drag racing.
Or whatever you want to call it.
Exactly. I mean,
these days, everyone's got their own moniker. I told you beforehand, again, I call it endurance drag racing. You can call it whatever the hell you want to call it.
No, I like that. I'm all with that. Opposed to the other names, I think that's a perfect name.
Yep, totally. But the car did have a Lenko in it at the time too, as well, right?
Correct. And what sucks now, looking back, the fastest the car has been 680s. That was with the Lenko. That wasn't with the automatic that's in it now.
And I know you said that the combo hasn't changed really in over a decade. What is the combo? What's the motor
it's a
setup?
598 cubic inch big block Chevy. It's a CFE headed motor, which They do all the pro stock, pro mod stuff. I mean, they are probably some of the best in the world that build stuff. The bottom is just a cast aluminum block. We don't run high boost. I mean, at the most you'll see us run is 27 to 29 pounds.
That is pretty conservative.
It's just the blocks won't hold up. They break. I mean, we're on our third block, and it will split the block from the mains all the way to the deck. We did a TV show. We did Grudge Race in Denver, and I raced Larry, who you're going to have on the show eventually here.
Pretty quick. Yeah, we're working out timing and stuff, but yeah, I'm going to have Larry on as well.
And me and Larry raced up there, and we ran it up there, and I think we had 33, 34 pounds in it up there. And, you know, the car in Denver, it went some 449, 8, something like that at 170 something, which right after that, the block was broken. So yeah, it just split, and we almost didn't catch it. It was a hairline crack. And so now we know to watch for it, but it's just the Dart cast block is junk. It is just junk. I don't have anything better. I mean, in whether it's, I should just step up and buy the billet block, I guess, you know, but the cast block just doesn't hold up.
Can you go straight to a cast iron block?
Well, it's the weight. I mean, right now we're running, once we put the gear benders and stuff in there, we're at 3850. Our last drag week we raced.
What?
We're 3850.
That car's 3,800 pounds.
And it's funny. I remember because we used to run Ultimate Iron, and I think that was the only class we actually had a weigh. And we'd roll through, and I remember Keith Turk one time coming up to me. He goes, "I didn't think you were serious." I said, "Why would I lie about that?" I said, "It's nothing." I says, "It's not. I mean, it's not a benefit to be that heavy, you know." But with the last one we ran, when Joey was tuning the car, we were 3850, and he had us. I mean, that was the fastest we'd ever been in the eighth. Went a 440 at 173.
Wow.
And they went 7.0 at 210. And the car was ridiculously fast. It was out of control is what it was. I couldn't, it definitely got my attention. I can say we always try to be conservative and try to run 460, 7.0s to 710. And everyone gives, I mean, Tom is a perfect example. He will give me hell because I'm conservative, but I don't want to work on the car. The week is long enough when you have to just go day to day. But if you're also having to work on your stuff because it's broken, so we've always been conservative with it. We'll run it, and if I can go 705 to 715, we've won some guitars that way.
Yeah,
you know, but
they're in the shop. That's not to your right, but straight in front of you.
Yes, correct. And so the last time we went to drag week, Tom said, he goes, "I don't think you'll, lean on it." And I said, "We will lean on it the whole week." And we worked our ass off the whole damn week fixing stuff. We broke rear ends in the car. I mean, the car was just, it was crazy fast. Joey would put it in there because he's not the one having a ride in it.
Right.
And, I was hanging on for dear life. But you just have to decide what you want. I mean, most of the guys out there, they're running 40, 50 pounds of boost, and that's great, but that's just because you don't make any horsepower with the motor.
Motor, right, exactly.
It comes down to it, everyone could say whatever, but if you need that much boost, the motor does not make the power.
Well, and you're from this altitude, and you've got to have compression. The motor has to make power for the turbos or supercharger or nitrous or anything to make the thing move. So you're versed in that. You grew up in that. You know that.
And it's just and it's weird. Because I think the car goes 7.0, 17s in Denver, and we've done that on 25 pounds, not getting carried away. But it just there's stuff that we need to fix on the car because it's just the weight of it creates a whole bunch of other issues. So down low, it's really hard. The car is just so violent to try to make work in the bottom half of the track. If we could get it to be smooth, and I think a lot of it is just the weight. It's getting the car going. When we had the Lenko in it, we had like a 286 low gear, and it got the car moving.
So yeah,
it was just gone. I think we were shifting in the second gear 0.8, 0.9 seconds. And so when you shift that quick, sometimes the run's good, sometimes it's not.
Did when you had the Lenko, did it have a clutch or was it a Bruno?
Oh, clutch. It's a clutch. And in that,
boy.
I mean, depending on what we decide to do going forward, I'm gonna put the Lenko back in it.
Atta boy.
That is probably the most fun we ever had driving the car. I remember the first time, I don't know if you know Dom D'Amato.
Oh yeah.
DRD. Well, Dom, the first time I met Dom, he goes, "Can I have a ride?" I said, "Sure." And I was towing a U-Haul trailer, and we rolled onto the interstate, and I just started rolling through the gears. And I remember him videotaping. The speedometer was like 120, 130, and I'm just cruising along, and he's just like, has this big grin on his face. But it was fun. The car actually felt fast, whereas the automatic is just the car's lazy. I joke around with people. My Duramax would outrun it because it is just a slug. Unless you have the air on and you are building boost, the car doesn't get out of its own way.
Right.
Where the Lenko, I mean, you just let out the clutch and it's just like it's happy, it's aggressive.
What just for my curious nature, what clutch did you run in that car?
We ran a 3-disc. Gosh, this is terrible. I can't even remember the name of the company. It was a 3-disc clutch, 10-inch clutch, but I don't remember whose it was.
Yeah.
And that was that. The biggest thing, if the only reason we changed it was because of the racing, the race week, the drag weeks, because it requires, if you miss the tune-up on the clutch, you're pulling everything apart. Because if you take a chance in glazing those discs, you're done. And there's no chance of making a second run if you have a bad run. And you're going to be there late because by the time you pull all the discs out, grind them, put everything back together, I mean, you're talking, because the car's not that user-friendly. So you spend 3-4 hours doing that. So I got lazy and we went to the automatic, which, the transmission has been awesome. I don't think our torque converter program is worth a shit.
I think, yeah, I think I know who you used for torque converters, and I'm not a big fan of them either.
No, and I want to try the folks that are on board with Race Week.
Yep.
I've talked to them a little bit, and I really would like to give them a try. I think they're small enough that they will work with you. Because where I'm at now, I don't feel like I get any assistance, and I have 4 of their converters that I paid for, and they may as well be on the bookshelf, because if I can't make them work and I can't get help making them work, because if we're not doing something right, what do I need to do to make it right?
Right.
And it gets old after a while, because it's not, I'm not getting stuff donated to me. I pay good money for it.
And yeah, we talked about this beforehand. I say the same company, and I don't want to drag them through the mud, and I don't care, man. But I sent them back a converter to restall. I got the converter back, put it back in my car, and the data logs are identical. So they got it and spray painted it, and sent it back to me. I was like, "Oh, that's awesome, thanks, guys." But neither here nor there. Again, we were kind of talking about this beforehand. Like you've done this all on your own. Like you haven't had a whole lot of help and stuff through a bunch of manufacturers and stuff either, and that's even more impressive in my opinion.
No, and there when we raced PSCA, we got a lot of free stuff.
I don't know what you're talking about, Gary.
Gary,
Gary knows.
Gary does know. But when we raced PSCA, we got a lot of stuff for free. Well, I'm going to tell something I probably shouldn't.
You can. Anyway. Like I said beforehand, I don't have any sponsors, and I don't really give a shit what anyone thinks. So say what you need to say.
Well, when at PSCA, what I did is I went down the payout list, and I figured a way that I could make $5, $6, $7 a race if I won. So that was the product I had on the car, or sticker I had on the car, not necessarily the product. Well, at some point, I broke the engine, and the particular piston sponsor that I claimed I had, which I didn't have the pistons in the car, I had to go to them to get pistons. And they said, well, we've been paying you. These aren't the pistons. I said, no, you're right. They're not. And they said, okay, well, you're going to have to pay full price for these. I said, okay. They said, we've been paying you for the last few years. I said, yeah, I know. But that was something I did because I couldn't afford it, and it's not right. When we raced NMCA, they would actually cut at the end, if you were in the money, they would come down and compare the sticker and make sure the part was on the car. Okay. And you didn't have competing companies on the car. All right. So if you had like Manley or Comp Cams, it voided them out, which was just crap because you may have Manley valve springs and a Comp Cam or whatever.
Right.
But they voided them out. Well, PSCA, they hadn't caught on to that yet. So I got away with that for a couple, 2-3 years. And so, but I was going to say, when I did get free stuff, I felt obligated. Like I had to go to race. I could be flat broke, couldn't put gas in the truck to get us there, but I felt like I had to go. And we would still go racing. I didn't have any money. I mean, I would put it on credit cards, borrow, whatever to go to race because I was obligated to these people.
Well, and you were racing at the time on the East Coast. And I mean,
East and West Coast, and everything we did was 12 to 18 hours away.
Right, because there weren't any big heads up races that were happening in Denver at the time.
Oh, no, and I put myself in a horrible position because I couldn't afford it. I was living this thing and I couldn't afford it. People, you'd show up and they see the car, and I get it's an expensive car and stuff like that, but that was like a life savings or Joey's college fund really at the time.
Right.
And, that's all I had to show for it. I didn't have anything else. I was working out of my mom's one-car garage, literally, to go to these races. I mean, people would die if they seen where I was working on the car.
Is that like this same garage?
No, that is actually our business, my dad's lock business at the time. But no, I every once in a while I'd get to take the car there. But normally it was always in my mom's garage is where we worked on it. And I remember we'd use a heater, a propane, like
one of those like rocket heaters.
Yes, exactly. And I remember how sick all of us, my friends and stuff, would get in that garage, working in there from that smell. And there was so many nights you'd work all night and we didn't have heat, so that's how we did it.
Yeah.
And of course you get the race and everyone thinks you're some rich person, and I'm thinking you guys have no idea, I don't have a penny to my name, but
right. This is my retirement fund and my kids' college fund and my lunch for the day. Like I got nothing. Like, can you pay my entry fee, please? I'll pay you back.
But so when we actually were doing better, I mean, doing well, I shouldn't say better, but we're doing good. I didn't want those obligations. So if someone wanted to give me stuff, I'd rather buy it because if I want to show up at a race, great. If I don't, I won't. And if you have a crappy product, I'm not going to just bite my tongue because I got it for free, or still praise you when the product's crappy.
Which is unfortunately, and we were talking about this beforehand as well. It's kind of the way of the world right now, and it's a damn shame because there are some companies out there producing some really really good shit, and there's some companies out there producing some garbage, and the people that are out there producing the good stuff are overshined by the people out there producing some shit.
And what the worst part is about it, I think, looking back now, is all these young kids that are just like I was back then that I couldn't afford the stuff.
Mhm.
You can't afford to buy stuff twice because you got junk. Yet they will see their racer they saw at the track running this sticker. Oh well, so and so uses that. That's got to be good. No, it's not necessarily the case. So that really gets to me now when I think about it because people that have to save for these parts and stuff because I'm got a sticker on my car, and if they get crap parts or not equivalent parts, that's been real common over the years.
Right.
Is I would buy stuff. We I won't say the company. We had mufflers, and I said, well, I want a set of these mufflers. Okay, we'll send you the stuff to do it. So in the mail, I got the tag with the company's name, and they said, just do whatever you want and just weld that on, and that's good to go. I said,
Onto
right?
onto whatever muffler you got.
Yep. And I says, really? They said, yeah, just do that. I
Wow.
said, this isn't normal. Well, yeah, that's how all races do it. So do whatever, put that on there, and just make sure you talk about us. Well, that sucks because the poor guy that goes out and buys them because he sees you're running that, it really messes it up. I feel bad when you think back at it because how often do people buy stuff, because they thought we were running it or and didn't know we were getting a different product. It's like oil. You see the oil guys do it all the time. They'll have all these quarts of oil in the trailer
Right.
filled with a different kind of oil than what the bottle says.
Yep.
I mean, it's just wrong. I don't know how to, but no one ever says anything because, oh, I'm getting stuff for free. It's
Yeah.
let's talk them up, even though it's junk.
Spark plug guys do that too.
Yes.
Tons. They'll put the whatever brand A sticker on the back window, but the brand B goes in the head.
No, and it's horrible. I mean, so it's one of those things that I do regret now. I mean, when you think about it, because I think of all the times people thought we were doing that or would go buy it and it wasn't what we ran,
Right.
Or the product they actually sell to the general public.
Right.
But, and I joke around about the automotive. It's the only industry that you can R&D with your customer, and whether it works out or not, too bad. Every other business in the world, you have to stand behind what you do,
Right.
or your customer would go somewhere else. But automotive stuff, it's constant. You see these guys, regardless of what they do, they build engines or or a torque converter, whatever it is. I mean, if they miss it, oh well, it's a racing product. That's the excuse that you. Oh well, it's racing.
Yeah.
It happens.
And so many other people that have their fingers in all of it, so they can always point. It's like the Spider-Man meme, and it's the three Spider-Mans all pointing at each other, and it's torque converter and tuner and engine builder, and everyone's. You can always point the finger at somebody else when you're producing a shit product that you're trying to push to people because you have a sticker on Joe Barry's 56.
Yep, and it sucks. I mean, I wish it wasn't that way, but it's the only industry that, at least that I've run across, that it seems like it's just the norm and it's no big deal.
Ed
It's,
Hohenberg says the software industry is way worse.
oh,
So I don't know that, but you
I'm
would
not.
know that, Ed, and Joey might know that.
Yeah, I'm not smart enough for software. You know,
Same.
so I just Joey has to help me with all those questions whenever I have issues, which is often.
It happens all the time. I mean, the last time I was down there, he was taking apart computers to steal RAM to put in
Yeah,
another computer. So I mean, that's a thing.
Yes, it is.
So 2010, you go to drag week, you kind of have a little bit of a resurgence with the 56 and you're having a good time. And, you go back a few years later and then, walk us through a bit of those kind of few years and then get us to race week in 15.
Well, we actually in 2010 we didn't compete because of the issues we had leading up while we were there. So then we had all year till 2011 to compete. So 2011 we showed up and it was pretty much me and Larry, or Larry and I show, however you want to look at it. And we would race. We raced that way till 2013, 2014. And then in 2014, I talked all my buddies from up north into going.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked Steve Marine, Matt, Zach, Keith the Keg. I got all my friends to go. I said, you got to enter, do this. And everyone was stoked. So all those guys came in 2014. And that was probably our most memorable year from the standpoint of accomplishments, because that was our first year that we made a 6-second pass, and we did it on the last day, not the first day. And so that was probably one of the best memories I have up until, after that, the years just everything was pretty much the same. We had learned enough with the car, what we could do, and just make it I hate saying easy week, but a week that we didn't have to work that hard.
Right. It's never easy, but when you're not thrashing on it, it certainly isn't as hard.
Correct. We've always been conservative, and it's worked well for us. I know that everyone says, "Oh, well, you need to lean on it, do this and that." Well, that's great, but I'm the one who has to pay for the bills or pay to fix it when I get back here.
Yeah.
I said, so I'm not going to do that. It sounds all great until you have, you're cleaning the diaper of the car, with all the broken parts in it.
Yeah, it's got all the rods in the bottom, and
Yeah, and it's just no fun. So we've done it conservatively, and we've caught a lot of hell, but I was comfortable doing it. We still work hard at it. We just aren't replacing parts, and then we went all the way till 2020 or 21, well, 21, I guess. And Joey started getting in there playing with the computer.
Right.
And I had told Tom that I would not be conservative. I said, I will lean on it every day. And we did every day. Joey was on there pushing that up key. And, I come back, white knuckle, scared to death, wondering what the hell just happened. And he'd be laughing his ass off, thinking, he knew what he did.
Freaking Joey.
So when we put him in the car later that year, he's wanting to put 5 pounds of boost in it. I'm saying, well,
Right.
why are we only doing that? Well, I got to drive this thing. I said, well, okay,
the tables have turned.
Exactly. But I'm not smart enough to go in there and start pushing the up key, so he can pretty much control it.
What you need to do is find the file that he saved with 30 pounds in it or 35 pounds in it and just load that. And then
yes.
he can his entire ass cheeks can inhale his underwear, and then he can realize what he's done to you for the past couple of years.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. And he's done really good. He's learned it. We call Joe O. He can talk to Joe O because I'm completely lost, but those two talk well together because they're both, I hate to call them computer nerds,
but they're geniuses. Like, they're super smart.
Yeah. And Joey will sit there and look at the computer and figure stuff out that I probably would have never caught in a million years.
Right.
We had some problems with the car when it would be on the two-step on the starting line. It would dump all the timing out to 0. And it had been doing that for 2 years. I never caught it. We couldn't figure out why the car was slow in 60. Well, it had been doing it for 2 years. And Joey found it, and then him and Joe worked on that to figure out what was going on. But I completely missed it. I was oblivious to it. So it's helped having him know it. But at the same time, he's Joe's conservative, where Joey, it just, more power, more boost, whatever. So it's just I need a happy medium there.
Speaking of Joey, real quick,
Yeah.
he's got a car.
Oh, that's Michelle's car.
Oh, that is Michelle's car. That's the Black Betty car.
Yeah, that's Michelle's
But
car.
so Michelle's got a 56,
Mhm.
and Joey's got a 56.
Yes.
And so Joey told me on Sick Week last year that his plan is to be like 620s and 30s with his car.
If we can make equivalent power that I make with my car and put it in his car, I think we could do it, because his is a 540, so it's going to be easier to put boost to it. It's a steel block, and if we can keep it around 3,100 pounds, that's 750 pounds lighter than me.
Right.
So we should be able to increase boost. It'll be on alcohol. I don't think it's too far fetched. I may eat my words, but I just knowing what we do with my car, I think it's very possible. I don't think it's that far. I mean, because all his is another one of these damn steel roof and quarter cars.
Right.
And I mean, and that's fine. That's where the rules are, but it's just all you have is, it's just a dang race car, lightweight race car at that point. And I know 3,100 pounds isn't light, but it's way lighter than me.
It's a hell lighter. Yeah, hell a lot lighter than you.
So I think it's possible. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think it's possible. We'll just see. I mean, he's lighter than me by 100 pounds, so he's got that going for him. So if we could get it somewhere in there, I think he'll do good. I think it'll be quite surprising.
While we're speaking of people, speaking of Michelle, how did you find yourself a woman who will put up with this kind of garbage?
Well, she enjoys the cars and the racing as much
That's one later.
or more than me. And she's an enabler when it comes to that stuff.
Atta girl.
When when I was broke or spending all our money, our house payment and everything else, she supported me. I mean, not once and never since we've done this has that ever been an issue. You always see people post, hey, make sure you ask your wife before you buy this or buy that. That is, and people joke around with me, and I'm thinking, you don't know. She will spend the money on car stuff quicker than I will. I mean, I will question it sometimes, and she'll buy it. So no, she's definitely, she loves the car stuff. I mean, she's always been part of it. I mean, no matter, whether we're doing a drag week or race week, it's always, she enjoys the heck out of it. And, she's at one time, I mean, everyone, with drag week, they're always looking to her for, if they needed something or whatever. And she would spend her day doing that. We wouldn't see her half the time because she's busy running around giving people waters or whatever. Or, that was always her and stuff. And that was, we got the car for her so she can come and do this stuff with us.
Right.
But we went to race week in 2020, and her beloved son blew up her engine.
Oh, in the fire.
Yeah. So we're also waiting on her engine. It's the same place Joey's is. So eventually we'll have both engines done. But that's what happened, why her car isn't running.
Ed Hohenberg says that we won at wifing.
I
Yeah,
have no
that's true.
complaints. I mean,
That's true. Yeah, yeah, we did pretty well, Joe and I.
and it's rare. I mean, you can walk around. I mean, I think half of my friends are been divorced however many times, and they never find a car person. You
Right.
know, usually their significant others hates cars, hates being at the track, hates being out in the heat. You just, and that's not the case. I mean, we've been lucky, or I've been lucky.
Well, yeah. Me more recently, but yeah,
Yes.
you hit the jackpot there, my friend.
So it's definitely it's been good, and that was the whole reason we got our car. And then once we got our car, we had all these issues with it. So we've taken it apart, cut it apart, and that kind of thing. And um, we're waiting on the engine, and there's a couple things I want fixed. So we're waiting on getting it into the chassis shop there at Mike Glickman's. He's going to change the A-pillar bars because they're horrible.
Yeah, you showed me those when I was over there.
It just drives me nuts. And then if we don't have engines, I'm going to look at, I hate saying this, buying an LS and throwing an LS in it for her.
Well, you just got back from LS Fest, so you know.
It's something. That is a cult following like I've never seen in my life, and it's cool. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's an easy swap. There's all these parts out there. They make good power, so it just it's definitely. I get why guys do it.
Right.
Um, I'm not an LS swap guy, but I do get why they do it.
Well, you're about to be.
Yeah, well, exactly. If it gets to that, I don't know. Maybe we'll luck out and have her engine one of these days.
This I'm going to show a quick picture, then I want to show a video of the car making a couple of passes, and then I've got some questions to ask. But this picture of Dylan,
Hang on one second. Let me see if I can get this. Okay, I got it fixed. Hang on. Let me get it big. Okay, show me again. I'm sorry.
this picture with Dylan,
Oh, what does it say?
he's got duct tape over
Oh,
the Larson race cars.
we were converting fans to Joe Barry fans because that was the year Larry didn't show up,
Right.
and um, he has a heck of a fan base, good people. I mean,
Oh, totally
and
good people for sure.
and it's strong. I mean, I would like to believe the folks that follow us or enjoy what we do are equal, but the fans were so upset that year,
Oh yeah.
and we the guy walked over and said he was so upset. He's telling Michelle the story. I came just to see Larry race and that kind of thing. So she went ahead and she converted it to a Joe Barry Racing
Joe
shirt.
Barry Racing, and then put a big black X over the Larson, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But Dylan made this shirt.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yep. Drink.
Oh, that's what I'm supposed to say.
That's right. That's cool. Drink.
Oh my
Dylan
goodness.
raced the last couple of years with a Circle D car, so he's friends with the Circle D folk and whatnot, and he's been a buddy with a few of those folks, Garrett Larson and whatnot. But for the first, I believe it was the first race week, he made a Doug Klein shirt,
Okay.
and it was made out of a Jeff Lutz shirt as well. So he's got a history of building shirts.
Oh, that is funny.
And yeah, Dan Palmieri got him a Circle D entry to race week last year. But Dylan and I are good buddies. He built me this, and then I had all the race week folks sign it the first year that I was announcing the deal in 2020. So I'm a big Dylan fan. So I saw that one and I was like, we have to talk about that.
No, that is cool. I forgot. I mean, and Michelle, I say this, she's like my biggest fan, but she'll be over there talking to people. I mean, she will be converting them, and it's funny. I mean, so we have some fans from Australia,
Oh yeah.
and they're really good people, and she always I think they started out as Larry fans, and not to say they aren't Larry fans anymore, but they became fans and friends of ours, and it's just really cool. I mean,
And she helps with a bunch of your social media type stuff and things like that. And I know she was helping kind of Joey with Team Chick-fil-A on sick week and whatnot. And but does she do a bunch of the Joe Barry Motorsports stuff
she
as well?
she used to. We've got really bad about that. I hate to say, and work has just it occupies our life,
It happens.
and I it seems like we come to work and we are here in the office till 8 o'clock at night, and we go home and come and do it again. And the car stuff, just it is what it is. It isn't what pays the bills or pays my employees' paychecks.
Right.
And and we slacked off. I mean, I'm sure people have sent me messages. They want shirts and stuff like that, and we sucked at it. I have nothing. It's we just haven't made the time, and it just I wish there was time, but it's so minimal between work, and we go home late, and then we're back here.
Well, like we were saying, like unfortunately your influencer checks haven't really started paying off yet.
No, no, my influencer checks probably are never going to pay off because I that stuff drives me. I cannot, you know, say, "Hey, look at me," I'm yeah, it drives me nuts. I will, and I don't know if people have caught it or catch it, but I will post pictures of my friends' cars
Mhm.
or other people's cars and talk about them because I get enjoyment out of that.
Oh
I,
yeah.
I I thoroughly enjoy doing that, and I've we post stuff obviously about my car and stuff like that, but it's nowhere near the enjoyment I get when I do about other people's stuff. I mean,
Well,
it's totally different for me.
to be honest, that's why I'm loving doing this. I love talking to people that have done this, and I love talking and really getting in depth with people and telling their stories, and you get to hear it from the horse's mouth. It's not, well, this guy said that this guy that said that this guy said that Joe Barry said that whatever, you know, this fuel's junk. Well, no, dude, that's not. I mean, now we're here. We're talking. We're having this exact conversation, and it's so much fun to bring my friends. I mean, these are people that I've become friends with, to kind of show some of their background and get a little bit of like we were talking before. Like you get to talk to people for 4 minutes at Drag Week. You never get to see them make a pass.
Nope.
But now, we got a little bit of downtime. I'm doing this kind of weekly, and we're doing it as people are doing their stuff, and we get to see what got people into cars and why a '56 Chevy, or why a whatever '08 Silverado with a turbo. What drives you? And it's been so much fun talking about and sharing my friends' stories with everybody else. So I totally hear what you're saying.
And hopefully, you get when you're talking to people away from the track, you get the real person.
Hmm.
It is so hard at the track when you are in a mode of getting a car ready, turning a car around, whatever it might be, and I always try to do my best with people and talk to people
Right.
and still do what I do. But, I got called out last year and by a guy, and I obviously was a jerk. I don't remember it. I try not to be. I always try to talk to people, but it's just obviously I came across wrong. And he called me out on it, and I all I could say is I apologize. I don't. That's not me normally, but it is stuff is intense trying to get ready a lot of times, and it doesn't always, the persona you may get at the track may not always be the real person. Just because I used to get upset when like you'd go to the Mile High Nationals and you have all these cars roped off and you couldn't get around the cars. And I always thought, oh, these people are too good. Well, now I understand it.
Right.
And it's not for that, but you have a job to do. And you have to make sure the car's right. I mean, obviously the cars are super fast. And if you make a mistake, so it's one of those things. And I get it better now, and obviously we will never be that popular that we're going to have people, making it so we can't work on the car. But I understand better of trying to do something and answer questions, and then whoever my passenger is probably gets the brunt of, why
Yeah.
stuff, why if something happens, why did it not get done? And that was your job.
You're totally right. There's so much going on. And even with my level of car, and it's an 11-second car, but you get to the track and you're changing tires and you're unloading the stuff and you're doing this and you're doing that. And, in the meantime, you've got dudes like, hey, you're my hero and I love you and I want you to sign my stuff. And you're like, give me a second. I just need to XYZ 1, 2, 3. And then you come off as a jerk. But it just is what it is. And people, in my opinion, need to kind of understand that. Like, we're working our ass off here. Like, I'm really, really sorry. I appreciate you coming over. Yes, the car is super cool. Watch us do our thing. And then I would love to talk to you. And again, after meeting you, like, you talk to someone for an hour if you had the chance. And, that it is a tough deal because when they come to you, obviously the deal is they come to you at the wrong time every single time.
No, and it's one of those things. I mean, sick week, I had people email me, and I thought we took everything pretty easy because it was just me and Michelle.
We can see you.
He's got shop lights.
Thanks, Joey.
You're welcome. But it was me and Michelle, so everything I thought was pretty laid back. But I got 3 emails telling me how terrible of a person I was. And I'm thinking, wow, and then they'll pick someone that we were friends with, and say, well, this racer's way better. I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't know what to say, you got me at a bad moment or whatever.
Yeah.
But, and I've never had emails before, and I'm thinking, my goodness.
That's freaking payback from Dylan. It's all these. That's what it is Larry's got his moles.
Yeah.
and they're out there trying to get some dirt on Joe Barry.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to play a couple of videos. I'm going to ask you a handful of questions real quick, and I think we're good, man, because it's been like almost an hour and a half, and I've been having a blast, and we've been really, really having a good time here. But you got to sleep and you got to get to work in the morning and crack some more safes.
Yeah, I got something to do. I got folks that are sick this week, and it's kind of messed up my week.
Of course. But here's a video I stole. Jason Sack took this video.
Oh, yeah.
And this is I'm not sure even where you are here.
That is 131, I believe. That's a pass right there. Well, I don't know if it's the pass.
It is a pass for sure. Oh, hold on. I can't see I switched my studio up a little bit and I can't see where the freaking play button is.
Are you sure it isn't all the beer cans in front of you?
Shh.
I don't know if it is.
The 56 moves, man. That thing is quick, fast. I'm not sure if that's the video or not.
I don't know. I mean, I know Jason had taken some videos, some good videos actually there, because we never get videos of car stuff. So I usually ask people, hey, can I have this video? Because we're always so busy. In like Joey's on the starting line watching, and Michelle. So we rarely have videos of actually my car. So it was nice because Jason tagged me, sent me him, and I was all excited because I don't ever get video hardly.
Right. Greg Hurlbut actually just chimed in here actually about 20 minutes ago, and I just noticed he wanted to know about the throttle position sensor on some of those runs from earlier.
I love Hyperactive, but we got to discuss their throttle position sensor because whenever it records, it shows that I'm like 50% throttle or something, and that's not the case. I'm holding it to the ground.
So yeah, Greg's ribbing the shit out of you.
Yeah. It's that's the one thing, you can ask a driver and he is going to tell you all kinds of shit. But I can tell you the computer don't lie. And when on the one pass that it went the 210 at 7.0 and it was 70000 like
one, I don't know, or something, or two or something.
And Joey goes back and I had pedaled the car 3 times on that pass. No. You were
3 seconds. Joey's calling you a liar right now.
And and I've always said I couldn't tell you what I do in the car. I mean, I can drive the car, I can handle the car, but you do everything. You do it. I couldn't tell you what I do. So I don't remember doing that, but of course they want to show me.
Here's where you screwed up and here's where you screwed up.
Exactly. And the computer don't lie. I mean, in all honesty, I mean, Greg is correct. I mean, and Joe used to get really upset with me because it jacks up when they review the run. The O2 is about 2/10 behind. And so when you pedal it, it jacks up all the data.
Right.
Because it'll go lean, fat. It takes however many tenths of a second to get back into what was right. And it really ruins the data. So it makes it really hard to tune the car after. And so Joe would always get on me, and rightfully so, when I pedaled the car. But it was so different. The turbo car has been so different for me than the nitrous car. The nitrous car was like I could do with my eyes closed, and it's not a big amount faster, but it's different. The power is different. The way the car pulls, the G's, it's just different. So whenever I don't feel comfortable, I'm going to lift because I can't afford to miss work because I'm hurt.
Well, and you don't want to rebuild that freaking car. I mean, again.
Exactly.
So let's just jump through a couple of these questions, folks. If you're watching, and I appreciate everyone that's on here watching, type in some comments and ask some questions, and we're gonna get this thing wrapped up. So if you want to ask Joe or me, but really if you want to ask Joe anything, you can ask me anything anytime you want. But type those in the comments bar. We'll get to those, but I'm gonna hit you first. What's the largest thrash that you've ever been a part of?
For like a race week or for
period.
When we race PSCA, the nitrous car, I mean, you burn a piston, you pull the motor apart, you put a piston in it, and that's you would work all night. I mean, that was pretty common with the nitrous motor. The turbo stuff, it's not. I mean, we could leave the hood on, in all honesty, probably the whole week. Aside from setting valves, we don't ever do anything. It's pretty. There's just not a lot to do with it. We've been breaking center sections pretty much every race because of the quality of the gears,
which sucks.
Yeah, I mean, one company went and bought all the good companies, and they turned all their products in the shit. So now we have billet 10-inch center sections in the car, which seem to hold up, but they're ridiculous money.
Right. Those are all Mark Williams, right?
These are actually Strange. These are Strange billets. But I mean, and it's a nice product. I mean, it looks like a piece of jewelry, but when you break them, it's like buying the old center sections.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, just for a set of gears. But if it holds up, it'll pay off, I hope.
Well, and like Keith Turk says, pistons are just a fusible link.
Yeah, that's true. That is very, very true.
What is your best memory from any of your endurance drag racing history?
Um, I would say probably the 2014 when we made the 6 second pass. That was something we had been working to do, and we did it. It was huge. I didn't know that we had ran a 6, obviously, and I'm going around the corner, and I don't remember the gentleman's name. He had a Nomad, and he would sleep in it at all the tracks to save money. And it was a rusty Nomad, cool car, rusty, and he was up there and he was holding up 6 fingers. I didn't know what that meant, and I drove past him. I had no clue. And so when I got the time slip, I looked at it, and then it all made sense at that point.
Right.
And I got back to the pit. I don't even know how many people. There was probably 40 or 50 people there. I was totally amazed when we pulled back up there, all the people, because we'd been trying for so long at that point. And we finally did it. And that memory is probably the biggest one I can say for, a drag week or a race week. Other than that, I mean, there's so many memories you have as you go along. I mean, it's hard to pick one, but that one I remember like right away. Oh, there's frogs. Yeah, we picked up a bunch of frogs, and I don't remember where we were at, and we could see them. They were across the road. It was like they were migrating, and no one. I don't know if it's the way my bumper is, but we'd pick them up, and we got parked, and they would be stuck to the exhaust because they'd hit it and they would burn themselves. Yeah, and just stick. It was like they were cauterized. And then obviously some went through the turbos. I mean, you had all these pieces. And at that time, people took pictures. I don't have any of those pictures, but the whole front of the car was covered in frogs, and of all things. But yeah, it was I couldn't even tell you where. Paul Nichols, yes. He was the one with the Nomad.
Yep. That's hilarious. The frogs. I never went through the frogs. I was an early leaver. I actually did drag week 14 as well, but kind of as like my own. I just went myself. I didn't know you guys at that time. So, but yeah, we left early. We were kind of one and done, hit the road, and we drove fast as fuck because that's what we do. And yeah, I think we were maybe ahead of you guys, possibly.
Yeah, because I remember it was late at night. I remember driving, but yeah, the frogs.
Good times. Tell me about the one that got away. What car did you sell that you shouldn't have sold?
Car I sold that I shouldn't have sold. I had a lower dually for a long time, for years. That it was on airbags and stuff, and I sold it to, well, it goes back to needing money to go racing PSCA, and I sold it to Dave Hildebrand.
Okay.
And I sold it to Dave, and he went and did a bunch of work, and he left it just sitting outside of his shop. So I don't know, 5 years later, I had money again. So I bought it back from him, and then it sat in my shop for however many years. And this kid came and offered me way more than it was worth, and I sold it. And actually, for the last few months, I've been trying to find one to do, because I missed the truck.
Yeah, I saw that you posted a couple of
Yeah,
like waffles and stuff for lower dualies.
yeah. And so I think that's probably the only vehicle I really miss. I mean, when I first met Michelle, we drove it to the first fastest streetcar deal in Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, turbo 400, 55 miles an hour, all the way across the country to go see a drag race.
You thought it was awesome, but now you'd be like,
Oh my God, I can't
Sweet
imagine going
truck.
55.
Speaking of Hildebrand actually painted your car.
Yep.
Are you going to be at the funeral tomorrow?
I had tried all week, but I
Same.
don't. I have being I was gone last week. It always is an issue,
Yep.
and I thought I had some stuff worked out, but then today it's not looking very good. So
Same exact for me.
I,
Unfortunately, I'll be missing it as well, and it just is what it is. But man, Dave, if you guys don't know, is Matt Frost's uncle, and lost him to a heart attack here just a week or two ago. And yeah, rest in peace, Dave. Man, if you ever met Dave, you were never in the middle with Dave. You either liked Dave or you hated Dave. There was no like, I think Dave's all right. Um, yeah.
no,
So yeah, rest in peace, Mr. Hildebrand, and you've always got the fast glass on the
yeah,
back that he put on there for you.
yeah, he did. He took good care of me. I mean, he worked on that car. I mean, at the time when he did it, I just found out, or me and Michelle just found out she was pregnant with Joey. And I was pretty sure my whole world was over. No more car stuff. We got a kid. There's no way we can afford it. And at that time, there was a gentleman named Abs that Dave hung out with. And Abs talked Dave into painting my car for near nothing. And Dave did it. And I remember showing up there, and Dave would be out there painting or polishing on the car. I mean, he was famous for to be in his underwear out there working on it. I forget the reason. I don't even remember the reason. But I'd show up and I'd say, Dave, what are you doing?
You're sitting here in your underwear polishing
Yeah,
my
and
freaking car.
and we'd always joke. He all these years later, we would joke. Him and his tidy whities and uh, painting a roll cage. It's real hard to get it all glossy. And I remember showing up one time, and he's out there with his socks, rubbing them on the bar to polish the bar. And he did all the bars like that. There
Wow.
was not a spark that wasn't polished. I mean, he did it perfectly. And we went, I think the worst thing, we went to Super Chevy Show and we showed the car. And I was in the running for best of show. And they found some orange peel under the back of the wing. And I mean, he had the car perfect. I mean, it was an oversight or whatever, but he was so deflated over that. I mean, he wanted to, as you know, Dave, they
Oh yeah.
wanted to go talk with that judge,
Yeah. Talk.
Yeah. and and I'll never forget that. But it was something so dumb, because the car was he did such a good job. I mean, you figure the car's been painted 22 years now.
And it
You
still
know,
looks great.
and I mean, all things considered, it's really good. But yeah, I mean, it's just he's we have a lot of memories there.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So rest in peace, Dave. If you're going to the funeral tomorrow, give everyone our best. Obviously we can't be there, unfortunately, but yeah, that's a big loss to the Colorado car community on the whole, for sure.
Yep, it truly is. I'll miss his 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock at night phone calls. Because he never had time straight. So he would call. It didn't matter if he thought you were asleep or if he did it on purpose. I'll never know. But but I remember so many times, Michelle, who's calling you this late? I says, it's got to be Dave. It's got to be Dave. And probably 99%, it was Dave. No, that I'll never forget. He, middle of the night, it didn't matter what time he would call you. If it came to his mind, he was calling you.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So,
Um, who is your favorite endurance drag race car and or driver that isn't you?
um, I would say probably Tom McGilton.
Oh man.
I mean, Tom is we've all, when we, up until I met Tom or Tom brought his car, we always traveled alone. And people would get upset, especially my friends. They get, well, why can't we travel together? And I said, the problem being is if I break down, you guys are going to sit there and help me. If you break down, then I'm sitting there and helping you. It's better to go alone. You're just more efficient.
Right.
I mean, I still believe that it's you work better. Well, we started traveling with Tom, and we had the same pace. It was perfect, and we got along really well, Tom and Rodney. And Tom's just a great guy. I mean, he's like a father figure, and
Yep.
he's enjoyable. We had a good time. I thoroughly enjoyed traveling. That's probably the best times we had is traveling with Tom.
And
So,
he's done his last couple of race weeks solo even, and he's over 70 years old with that car that runs 200 mile an hour. And yeah, it's I think his car's
yeah,
4,500 or 4,600 pounds or something like that. So it's a 200 mile an hour car. So I mean, you do the math.
it
That
makes a
thing makes
lot
some
of power.
steam, and he just cruises around solo and having a blast and enjoying his retirement, I guess, if you will, his retirement.
Yeah,
But that's a good one. That's my first McGilton one. So that's
really. Yeah, no, I mean, I've met. What sucks is I've met so many good people. I mean,
picking one is
it's really hard to pick one because I would say probably the folks I've met on race week, drag week, I'm probably better friends with them, even only seeing them once a year or
Mhm.
every couple of years, than I am with anyone around here. I mean, because you have something in common with them, I guess,
right,
and so it's hard because it's always about the people. Everyone says, "Oh, it's the racing." No, it's the people.
right, right. What's your favorite racetrack?
I would say, well, that's tough. Tulsa is probably my favorite. I think that's the first track I went 200, and also my first 6 second pass.
Yeah,
Um,
it's tough to beat that.
yeah, I mean, the track is always on point. There's always good. I've never had a bad uh, event there.
And
So,
for those that know, they have a bathroom in the tower. So when I need to go see a man about a horse, it's just right there. It's beautiful.
oh my goodness.
Trailer or no trailer?
We tow a trailer. I think it would be awesome if they did away with the trailers. I know I get so much hate when I say that, but I think it would be awesome. I mean, we did race week without a trailer twice. Oh yeah, we did it with the Trans Am, and it is so much nicer driving the car without a trailer. We got 50 endurance races to choose from, so maybe someone will make a 51 with no trailers.
No trailer required.
Yeah, or well, I think do one and don't allow trailers. Because the trailers have got to the point where yes, you don't have your stacker trailer with you, but you have damn near every damn part you could ever want.
Yep.
And Doug Klein is probably the best one who made those passes. No trailer. He never pulled a trailer. And that car back in 2014, 2015, that car went 640s.
Right.
I don't know how many people realize that, but that car went 640s, and I mean, that was a complete metal car. So it just, that tells you something.
Yeah.
And
Oh
he
yeah, it
needed
does.
no trailer. And so it's obviously possible, but I just think it would make people prepare differently,
Hmm.
and it would be neat to see. in myself included, my trailer, I have everything that I carry in my big trailer. I mean, I do. There's nothing I don't have. It's a scattered mess when I'm at the track, but we carry everything that we have. I mean, there is nothing we don't have.
Right.
And it's and it only gets worse. I mean, as we go along, because now they're allowing trailers. It don't matter size as long as it's single axle.
Right. So now it's whatever you want.
And it's nuts. So that's one thing I think would be cool, and I'm sure I will get so much hate for that. And I don't mean it to point out anyone,
right?
Because there are small cars. The last time I mentioned this, and I can say, Dave Schroeder, who is a very good friend of mine, him and John, they're great people. And John's one of those no BS guys, and he probably, if he'd been there, would have probably punched me. But he said, he goes, well, Joe, he goes, we got a Corvette, where do you want to put all the stuff? And obviously it made me think, and I kind of backed off that statement because he's right. I mean, it would be hard for them to be competitive in one of those cars.
It's got rebars, right?
Yeah. And see, that's on the back of that car with the wheelie bars. We put all the intercooler tanks, the jacks, we built a plate, and you just stack all that stuff on there. I think we had 360 pounds of tools extra on the car because we weighed it with all the tools.
Right.
It's amazing where you find places to put tools.
Right.
And and so I think it would be cool, just because the trailers have got just carried away. Yes, that's cool.
Drink.
Drink. I only have water.
That's okay. You can still drink that.
And okay, the suites have a roof rack, and I don't even remember what they have for trailer, but I just Zach.
Yeah, Zach Decay.
Yeah, and he had everything on top of that car. I mean, and Larry actually talked about building a popper for his that you could put popper jacks on and drive out from underneath the topper.
That'd be cool.
Go make the passes and then put it back on, and that would be cool too. But I think the trailer stuff. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about where everything. I know it's the progression of the sport. You always hear that.
Right.
Heads up racing. It's progression. I just don't know. Where's the end game at this point for all these events? Matt has kept his family oriented and things like that, which is great. I think that says a lot more about an event and makes the event enjoyable versus the corporate events that are out there.
Right.
I mean, I can tell you, the folks at Hot Rod Drag Week, the people that are there at the track are awesome. The people who put on the event, they could give a shit less. All they want to make sure is they get rid of magazines or get their sales from whoever advertised, whatever it is. But the people there, only the people at the track care, and you get to know them, like Keith Turk, Tanya,
totally.
Those folks we've all got. Mike Leamy's taken over now, and Mike's awesome. Mike cares. He's actually there in the thick of things, but the powers to be up above that can cancel the event tomorrow because it doesn't meet their numbers, they don't care about the racers.
Yep.
And it sucks. It truly sucks. So you end up, hopefully Matt, which I know Matt, he's not going to change race week. It's going to be the way it is, because it is exactly Matt's personality and the way he is.
Yep.
So it'll stay that way, which is good. I don't mean it. I mean it as a compliment. So hopefully that's the way it comes across.
It does to me. And if he's watching, I'm sure he thinks the same.
So I don't know. I mean, we'll see what the future is, but maybe someone will do something with no trailers.
On race week, we did get this year Double Down Performance, which is Travis Cannon and Baron Racing. which is his name escapes me right now, but we got $500 for the fastest with no trailer or quickest with no trailer for each event. So we were kind of bringing that into that. That's a drag week sort of thing that they do, but we're slinging money at it, which is pretty cool. And we'll see what kind of people come up with. And Travis sort of came up with that, and he was like, I really want to see what people come up with, like with a roof rack or something like that. He's like, I just want to see what people's minds come up with, because if it doesn't have an axle and it doesn't have tires, it's not a trailer. So come up with something else that you can whatever, and let's get weird and let's see what you come up with. So that'll be really fun to have this year.
And it's actually John Gentry is bearing.
That's what it is, John Gentry. You're totally right.
John, I know. Last time I talked to him down at Stroud, he wants to come and do a race week or drag week, and we talked a lot, and hopefully he shows up at one of these events.
Yeah,
I think he'll have a ball doing it. But yeah,
he's got a wicked cutlass.
Yes.
And he's kind of one of the 405 OG guys, but he was with them before they started filming the show, and I think he's been on a couple of them, but he's been kind of in the background with a bunch of that. But Oklahoma City kind of guy, and G-body, because you got to love G-bodies. What is your advice for someone getting ready to do one of these?
I would say biggest advice is drive the car lots. I know everyone that seems like they're at the last minute putting cars together, loading them in the trailer. They start it for the first time loading the trailer, but spend the time driving the car. I know our first year, I drove the car probably 500 miles roughly before we went to the event. And obviously we still had problems, but we just drove it. And that was probably Larry's advice. We drove it and drove it and drove it because we wanted stuff to fail, because that was the best way to do it. And to this day, I mean, we will drive the car. I mean, it isn't just the race week or a drag week thing. And we will drive the car just the same. We go to events, go get ice cream, or like when we go to Tom's and he does the Woodward deal.
Yep.
He has his big party and things like that. I mean, we unload the car out of the trailer, and that's all we do. That is our transportation for that week, and everywhere, Tom, okay, we're going cruising, and that's every night. It seems like you're with Tom.
Hell yeah.
And so that's one thing that I can say that. So drive it. I mean, just drive the heck out of it, because if you can make it fail when you're not competing, then you're ahead of the game. Because a lot of times if it fails when you're actually competing, sometimes you can't fix it.
Right.
So drive it, try to make it fail. I mean, I know that sounds weird, but if you can try to make it fail, that's your best bet to have something reliable.
Right. Well, and especially if you're kind of close to home or close to at least friendly location, then you can fix it without much hassle. And then okay, I fixed it and it's better. But now we need to go rate the next thing.
Exactly. But that's the biggest thing is just, and, I know I've seen people post, everyone asks, well, what to take? What do you want to take? And I always tell people, only take whatever's a specialty item to the car. If it's something you can go to the auto parts store, don't take it. Just take specialty stuff, because otherwise you end up with so much stuff you're taking with you, and 80% of the time you aren't going to use it.
Right.
And it's so easy to overpack these trailers. I mean, we've done it. I mean, Joey packs the trailer now because he gets upset with me because I try to take pretty much everything, and I'll be putting it in and he'll be taking it out. And until this last year, he was right. I mean, because we weren't using it, so why take it?
Right.
So
we'll finish it up here really quick here. Man, we've been on 2 hours. It doesn't really feel like that, but we've been on 2 hours, and this has been a freaking blast. And dude, thank you so much.
No, thank you
for coming on this and yakking with me and showing these, handful of people that are watching this a little bit of the background, a little bit of Joe Barry and the 56 and the creamsicle and really just everything. And it's before we get finished, just want to let you know that it's been a blast, dude. This has been so much fun.
Thank you for having me. I mean, I always tell people I'm just a car guy like everyone else. It's no different. We all enjoy cars. That's how we all connected. I think Matt made a post about cars today or yesterday, and it's so true because we all know each other because of car stuff,
Right?
And that's how we're all pretty much connected. It's amazing. It's a really small world when you come down to it, but that's how we're just all car. We all appreciate cars. Race cars, show. It doesn't matter. It's just we're car people.
Right. Lowriders. I mean,
lowriders, exactly.
Lowriders are cool, man.
Dogs.
So I know you've been helping a little bit with Pueblo with the Steel City Shootout and a little bit of that kind of stuff. But what do you have coming here on the horizon, and what do you have that's going to be interesting for us to keep an eye on?
Well, I don't know if I can. Obviously, I'm the starter for Steel City Shootout. We have one coming up May 13th, and we have an event that's going to happen in August. I can't talk about it because we have a whole thing we're going to do with the track. But all I can do is tell people to stay tuned. I can tell you it's going to be endurance cars. So it's going to be your drag week, your race week, your sick week cars that this is a class for.
Is this does this go along with some of your like cryptic Facebook posts that you were kind of making earlier?
It did, and I really planned on doing something last night so I could talk about it today, and I dropped the ball.
It happens.
But Donnie's given me this opportunity, and it's been great helping out at the track. I feel really good about it, and it's fun to see people. It's different for me because I'm a terrible spectator. I can't spectate, but going down and seeing this, I really have a good time with everyone, and I enjoy the heck out of it. So.
And that's at Pueblo Motorsports Park. So you can check them out on all the social media and stuff like that. And then look for the Steel City Shootout stuff. And what they're doing is a bunch of the back half, no prep type of stuff. And Joe's got a big helmet hat with a huge light on it that he's flagging all the races for and whatnot. And you're involved with a bunch of that. And it's going to be very cool to see because if I remember, and I'm gonna just pull these a little bit out of my pocket, and I don't know if they're all gonna be legit or anything, but you were talking about all steel, all glass.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about maybe a little cruise somewhere.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be a cruise because I got all these race cars, that are so-called street cars, and I can't take away anything from them because they're fast, but I think Jason Hurley and Royce Payton, I mean, they're the real street cars that have competed down there. So, but we're going to try to do something it's going to be 28. So obviously it won't help those guys.
Right.
But it's just something that have some fun. I mean, and that's the biggest thing is to have some fun. It's just, we have so much trouble in Colorado keeping a street car type events going.
Yep.
We are our own worst enemies. We create drama, and what it does, it ruins the races.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all of us have been here a long time. We all know it, and for some reason we haven't learned it. And hopefully we've learned, and we're trying. I know Donnie takes this stuff to heart, and
Donnie's been killing it down there in Pueblo.
He's working his butt off on this, and I don't know if anyone realized how much time he's putting in. I mean, and he's volunteering a lot of this time to make these things happen, and we need to work all together so we can have these races. I mean, especially with Bannerman going away. I mean, you aren't going to have the PSCA up there. You aren't going to have the other events, that streetcar type events.
Right.
So, let's make this work. Let's work together, to not ruin it. I mean, because, we only have this one track right now, and, that hopefully, Vandermeer does build another facility. But while we're at it, we need to make sure we support this track and support these events. I mean, it's not everyone can win. And, if you're only doing it because you want to win, I mean, you definitely have the wrong hobby, because
it doesn't matter who you are. Someone's got a faster car than you.
Well, exactly. And just, go and have some fun and do this. So hopefully we'll get that kind of, hopefully this year will be good. I think it'll be all positive, and, they got classes to bring some young guys in, which is unique, because usually all these classes are for seasoned racers or people with big budgets or whatever. And so he's got some really neat classes that we've been doing. So hopefully, I mean, I hope it's a good year. Like I said, and we're going to make an announcement here in the next couple of days for this other deal. And I think everyone will have fun. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I want people to have fun. I don't want you to come if you don't want to have fun, because, the racing's great, but let's have fun. Let's together and just enjoy it.
I can't wait to hear what's coming up with that class, because I have not one but two all steel, all glass 28 10.5 stick shift cars. So,
okay. Well, so you got to bring both of them.
Well, I'll drive one and Stevie will drive the other.
Exactly.
And it's only a couple hour drive for us, so no big deal. And then we'll just stay at the Berries when we're there, and we'll make a weekend out of it. It'll be a blast.
That sounds good. No, it'll be a good time. I think it's August 5th is what was the date, if I remember correctly. So
cool. Well, I can't wait to hear that come through, and you'll pay attention to that on Joe Barry's all his social media, as well as Pueblo Motorsports Park and the Steel City Shootout. So I'm sure all that will be coming out here very, very soon.
Yes, sir.
But Joe, we just passed 2 hours. I gotta pee. I think we're good, man. I have had such a good time, and this has been a really good time. And you can tell when it's good when the time just passes, and it doesn't feel like anything is really passed. And this has been good, man. I've had a really, really good time hanging out with you.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you. I had fun. So the only thing is, when do I get to be in your seat and interview you?
Anytime you want. Let's do it.
Okay. I think we should.
I'm ready.
Okay. We need to make a plan for that.
Perfect.
Because you're busy interviewing all of us, and you get to see everything firsthand. So,
I can't wait. Let's set it up. I would love to do that. And let me know. You've got my number.
Okay. You got a deal.
I would love to do that. But I'm going to throw you in the background real quick. Hang out for a second, because I want to tell you goodbye before you leave. But I'll tell these guys goodbye. But thank you again so much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. It was all my pleasure. Trust me.
Okay.
Guys, are you kidding me? Joe Barry just sat down with me for 2 hours, and we had a blast. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did. This is super duper fun. And thanks for staying up late. I know it's late. It's 9 o'clock my time, which means it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock your time. And guys, what a blast. Make sure you share this one to your friends. Make sure you tell them to subscribe to this, because we're going to have a lot more coming up. I was supposed to kind of do the trifecta. I was going to do Joe Barry, then Larry Larson, then Alex Taylor. Unfortunately, Larry's kind of working on his stuff, and then Alex completely blew the doors off her car. And so she's going to have a lot of work coming up here in the near future. So I'm going to give her a hall pass. Larry, I'm going to give a hall pass, but I've got them in my sights, so we're going to have them at some point. I'm just not going to do the trifecta, unfortunately. So I do have some good stuff coming up. It's going to be a blast. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks to Joe Barry again for coming on. And guys, this was such a good time because seriously, Joe Barry was a hero of mine growing up, and this was a very good time to hang out with him. But on behalf of us here, me at That's Cool Drink, and Joe Barry, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and we are done.